All right, so today let's dive into personal finance, specifically David Bach's The Automatic Millionaire.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
We've got a couple of book reviews to unpack here,
Okay.
one by Tina Dressel, and then another one from a blog called Bankers Anonymous, plus a third one from the Chief Mom Officer blog.
Lots to go over.
Yeah, we're going to break down Bach's approach to building wealth,
I think.
especially for those who are, just starting out.
Right.
And the really surprising thing is that Bach argues that you don't need a budget or like extreme discipline to become a millionaire.
Big claim.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold statement, right?
It is. And I think that's why the book got so popular. It feels very accessible, like anyone could do it.
Exactly. And one of the things that really jumped out at me was this thing called the latte factor.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
He actually trademarked the term.
Wow.
Like, seriously.
He did, yeah.
One of the reviewers, I think he calls himself like the banker. He broke it down with a great example.
Okay.
So imagine you give up your daily latte, like
Yeah.
the $2.50,
Yeah.
and instead you invest that money.
Okay.
Assuming, decent market returns,
Right.
you could be looking at something like $472,000 to $1.9 million over your working lifetime.
So basically, small, consistent investments over time. That's
Yeah.
compound interest, right?
Right.
But it's important, I think, to emphasize that the latte factor isn't really just about cutting out lattes.
Right.
It's about recognizing the impact of like all those small, often unconscious spending habits and how, those insignificant costs can actually derail your financial goals if you're not paying attention.
And Tina Dressel, in her review, brought up this idea of decision fatigue.
Oh, interesting.
Have you ever felt mentally exhausted after making a bunch of small decisions?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like what to eat, what to wear.
Totally. It's exhausting.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what decision fatigue is all about.
Oh,
it's
no.
this drain on your willpower that happens when you're constantly bombarded with choices,
Interesting.
even if they're small.
So when you're feeling that like depleted, mental state, you're saying it's harder to make sound financial decisions,
Yeah, especially those bigger ones.
like choosing a car.
Right, choosing a car or like where you're going to live.
Yeah. Or how much to spend on rent or a mortgage.
Exactly.
Those are big ones.
So it's not about becoming, a penny pincher, right?
Right.
But it's about being mindful of where your money is going.
Yes, absolutely.
Recognizing that small leaks can sink a ship.
Exactly. Latte factor is like a wake-up call to just examine your habits and identify areas where you can, redirect those small amounts towards building wealth.
And so now Bach's central concept, this idea of paying yourself first,
Okay, yeah.
the Chief Mom Officer blog had this really cool story about a couple, the McIntyres, who actually became millionaires by automatically investing a portion of their income,
Okay.
like before they even thought about spending anything else.
Right. So like saving a priority
Yes.
instead of an afterthought.
Is that what he means by creating an artificial environment of economic scarcity?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I
Yeah.
think that's a great example. You're basically creating this situation
Mm-hmm.
where saving is the default.
Right.
It's not an afterthought.
It's not like, oh, I have some extra, I'll put it in savings.
Exactly.
Like, boom, savings first, then we'll see what's left.
Precisely. And it's not about actual scarcity. It's about prioritizing your financial well-being. Saving the first priority.
It's almost like tricking yourself into being financially responsible.
I mean, in a way, yeah. But it's more about aligning your actions with your goals, I'd say.
Okay, that makes sense.
And this is where that whole automation thing comes in.
Right.
Bach is really big on that. Automating key financial actions, saving, investing, paying off debt, even giving to charity.
Yeah, and the Bankers Anonymous review, they highlighted how that not only makes it easier,
Right.
but also takes the emotion out of it.
Exactly. Because emotions can lead to bad decisions, especially with money.
So it's about being proactive, not just reactive, with your money.
100%. And that kind of leads into the criticism that Bach's approach might be a bit too risk averse.
Especially for younger investors.
Yeah, exactly. Like someone in their 20s or 30s might benefit more from taking some calculated risks.
Tina Dressel actually brought that up in her review.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to finances. You got to consider your own situation, your risk tolerance.
Right. So what works for one person may not work for another.
Exactly.
It seems like a lot of the criticism is directed at how Bach oversimplifies complex issues.
Yeah, like that whole buy versus rent debate.
Right. He's really pro homeownership.
He is, but, that's not always the best financial decision for everyone. Like, think about market conditions, you know, and individual circumstances. It's a big decision, and it shouldn't be approached with just a one-size-fits-all mentality.
Okay, so what we're taking away from this so far, automation's important, paying yourself first,
Yeah.
being mindful of those small expenses, they can make a big difference.
Absolutely.
But we also have to remember about individual risk tolerance and the nuances of those big decisions, like buying versus renting.
Exactly. And these are just starting points.
All right.
There's a lot more to discuss when it comes to financial well-being.
That's a great segue into the next part of our dive. So let's explore some of those deeper nuances and criticisms of Bach's approach.
Let's do it. Okay, so we've talked about the mechanics of saving and investing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the automatic millionaire goes kind of beyond just practical tips.
Okay.
It delves into the mindset you need to have to be financially successful.
So you're talking about like the psychology of money.
Exactly, because sometimes even when we know what to do, actually doing it can be a whole other challenge.
Totally.
Bach argues that a lot of people struggle, not because they don't know enough, but because they just haven't developed the right mindset.
And habits, right.
Yeah, habits, exactly.
Like it's one thing to know you should be saving, but another to actually like automate it.
Completely.
Well,
and the automatic millionaire, it like really tackles this head on.
okay, so then how do we cultivate this millionaire mindset?
Well, the book really emphasizes shifting your perspective on money.
Okay.
Like instead of seeing saving as this chore or sacrifice,
Yeah.
he wants you to reframe it as like an investment in your future.
Ooh, I like that, like future happiness and freedom, right?
Right.
Instead of thinking, ugh, I have to put this money away.
Yeah.
It's like I'm investing in my future self.
Exactly. And it goes along with developing a sense of empowerment.
Yeah, okay.
Bach stresses that you have the power to control your financial destiny.
Not a victim of circumstance.
Exactly. You're not a victim. You can make choices that lead to financial security and abundance.
Taking ownership of your finances.
Yes, 100%. Not just going with the flow, but being intentional about your decisions.
So it all comes back to that mindfulness, right?
Yeah. And financial literacy, too.
Yeah.
Like Bach is big on educating yourself about personal finance so you can actually make informed decisions.
It's about having that knowledge, and then the power comes from applying it.
Precisely. And, that's where resources like this deep dive come in.
That's right, giving you the tools you need to understand these concepts.
Yeah, and apply them in your own life.
We're all about empowering you to take control. Okay, so we've covered like the latte factor, paying yourself first, automation.
Right.
What other like nuggets of wisdom did Bach offer in The Automatic Millionaire?
So one thing that really stuck with me was his advice on home ownership.
Okay.
He sees your home as like this asset that can help build wealth.
Right, which makes sense. But we did talk about how he gets some criticism for oversimplifying that buy versus rent decision.
Yeah, it's important for people to understand that home ownership isn't some like guaranteed path to riches.
Right, it's not like a magic solution.
There are risks.
Responsibilities too.
Big time. Owning a home can be great, but you have to be strategic and realistic about it.
Yeah, you have to factor in market changes, interest rates, all of that.
It's not something to jump into lightly.
No, for sure. And another big thing Bach talks about is reducing debt.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. The Chief Mom Officer and Bankers Anonymous reviews both highlighted that. Like, becoming debt-free is crucial for achieving that financial freedom we keep talking about.
Right, because if you're not paying off debt, you're not building wealth.
Precisely. Getting rid of debt frees up your cash flow so you can save and invest more.
And he's not just talking about credit cards and stuff, right?
No, he also talks about paying off your mortgage as fast as possible.
The Bankers Anonymous review mentioned using a biweekly payment system to squeeze in an extra mortgage payment every year.
Yeah, that's a pretty clever strategy. You're basically making half your monthly payment every 2 weeks.
So instead of 12 payments a year, you're making 13.
Exactly.
Sure.
Might not seem like a lot, but over time it can save you a ton of money on interest.
It's like that saying, work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Small tweaks can make a big difference.
And it ties back into automation, too. Set up that biweekly payment, and you don't even have to think about it.
Exactly. It just happens automatically.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how so much of Bach's approach is about these small changes that add up over time.
Right. It's not about being super restrictive or
Right.
anything.
No, it's about creating a sustainable plan for long-term wealth.
Making it manageable, even if you're not a financial expert.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the automatic millionaire. That makes it feel like anyone can do it.
All right, so we've, explored the ins and outs of the automatic millionaire,
Yeah.
from the latte factor
Yeah.
to automation.
But now let's shift gears a little bit.
Right,
Make this personal.
Right.
What does all this mean for you
Right.
and your own financial journey?
Yeah, that's the big question, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to just understand these concepts,
Right.
but the real magic happens when you apply them to your own life. So I want you to think back to what we've talked about today.
Okay.
How can you use these principles to reach your financial goals?
Yeah, like maybe it's finally setting up that automatic transfer to your savings account.
Oh, yeah, the one you've been putting off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's about, identifying your own latte factor
Right. What's that one small expense that you could easily redirect?
without even really missing it.
Exactly.
Or maybe even just scheduling a meeting with a financial advisor
Oh, that's a great one.
just to get some, expert advice.
Especially if you're feeling lost.
Right, overwhelmed.
It's about taking that first step, no matter how small it seems. And remember, you don't have to be perfect.
Right?
It's about making progress.
It's a journey,
right.
not a destination.
Exactly. There will be ups and downs along the way.
For sure.
But just keep learning, adapting, keep moving forward.
Keep striving for those goals.
You got it. One of the things I love about the Automatic Millionaire is the sense of hope it offers. Like, it shows that financial success isn't just for a select few.
Right.
Anyone can achieve it.
Yeah, it's about taking control.
Exactly.
Creating a future that aligns with your values.
100%. Now, before we wrap up,
Okay.
I want to leave you with a final thought.
Hit me.
Okay, so imagine, instead of just focusing on cutting back, you focused on increasing your income.
Okay.
How could you apply these principles, automation, paying yourself first, to a side hustle or a passion project?
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
Instead of just trimming expenses, what if you could create extra income streams
Exactly.
and then automate those earnings?
Exactly.
So they're going straight to your savings. It's like thinking outside the box a little bit.
Yeah.
Leveraging your skills to build wealth.
So as you go about your week, I want you to think about that question.
Yeah.
What could you do to earn some extra income?
Right. Get creative.
How could you automate it?
You got it.
Because remember, there's no limit to what you can achieve when you combine smart strategies with a proactive mindset.
It's been great diving into the Automatic Millionaire today.
It has.
Hopefully our listeners are leaving with some actionable advice
Absolutely.
and a clear path forward.
And remember, this is a journey.
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep growing,
100%.
and keep taking steps toward the future you want.
Well said.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep.
See you then.